Hello everyone, my name is Victoria Laverty. Thank you so much to the IFST for asking me to attend today's event. It wasn't long ago when I was sat in your seat as a second year student, and I'm just delighted to be back this time as a food industry mentor. I've been asked to share with you my career journey to date, and this might give you a little bit of an insight as to what you might expect when you start yours. I then plan on sharing some advice for those who are looking for a placement year role, and then I plan on finishing up with some tips that I would give to my younger self about how to make the most of your early career journey.
To begin then, what you see is a timeline of my journey to date. My first ever job was in my local M&S, where I worked part-time while studying for my A-levels as a customer assistant. I then secured my position in Queen's University to study food, quality, safety and nutrition. When I started this course, and having already worked in Marks & Spencer, I developed a real aspiration to one day work in head office. I thought retail would be really interesting to learn about the food industry and get a great overview. Luckily, after a lot of effort was made towards my placement application, I was successful. This year was split into two roles: 6 months in head office and 6 months at a large supplier, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail later. I graduated in 2017, and after having finished my degree, I returned to M&S head office as a graduate food technologist. After almost a further 2 years, and although I absolutely loved London, I was ready to move back home. This is when I joined my park, where I now find myself as a quality manager. So now I will take you through the various roles to give you an insight as to what life was like during these early years of my career. At the end of second year, to begin my placement, I packed my bags and moved to London. The first 6 months was based in the chilled desserts team, and really this role allowed me to act as a team player in the M&S food technical team. Some of the typical tasks included the coordination of a weekly QC or quality control panel, where you eat your way through the entire desserts range. Verify artworks of new product launches, ensuring they are compliant with any current regulations. And probably the best part of working in retail is that you get to travel. The opportunities in a role like this allowed you to travel not only to desserts factories, but to dairy, ready meal and sandwich factories, and really just see and observe how the different types of factories work. I was also lucky enough to shadow some M&S factory audits across Europe. This was really exciting as it provided an opportunity to learn from the auditors and what factory compliance expectations are. And remember, you can't work in food without a peak Christmas season, so I spent a few Christmas seasons helping sites get stock out the door during a very busy and high volume period. Now you're probably wondering why there are so many egg custard tarts on the screen. The best part of my placement year was to be given a project which I could call my own. I led and delivered a huge piece of work solely on egg custard tarts. They virtually became my placement year babies. This really challenged me as an individual, and with the help and support of others around me, I was able to benefit the business with the work that I had carried out. 6 months on, I packed my bags again, and I was given a role in the technical team of a Samworth Brothers company called Blueberry Foods. This company has actually recently been bought over by another food group called Bakkavor. However, the site name of Blueberry Foods still remain. The site is located in Leicester, England. I had no real idea what to expect. Just as I got settled with friends in London, it was almost like I had to start all over again. I got on the train one Sunday morning in January 2016, and my new landlady waited for me at Leicester train station to take me to my new temporary home. Thankfully, it turned into a great friendship, and I actually still meet up with her every so often. Fitting into a new team was strange, however. This wasn't retail, this was the other side of the fence in manufacturing. This gave me the exposure to both low-risk and high-care food manufacturing environments. I got to see the real insight of working on the line, encountering production problems on a daily basis. It gave me a better understanding of a site-based technical team and how they work with the site production teams. My predominant role during this job was to act as a quality auditor, or QA, which for some of you could potentially be a good starting point in your career. This allowed me to put an auditor hat on and carry out internal audits in the factory across production shifts. I would quality assess raw materials arriving on site to ensure they were what they should be. And I was boggled and bamboozled with the product and ingredient mass balance and traceability exercises I had to carry out. This is where you trace one particular batch of ingredients and record which finished products it was used in. This is typically done within a specified time limit of 4 hours. I was also involved in conducting customer investigations. Say if we receive a customer complaint that a customer had received a foreign body such as plastic in a cheesecake, for example, I would then investigate where this foreign body came from and how it got there. Sadly, my placement year came to an end. I genuinely was not looking forward to heading back to university. I quite enjoyed having some cash in my pocket, which I wasn't used to as a student. Nonetheless, I moved back home, thankfully knowing I had already secured my role at M&S post-graduation. After graduating, again, packed the bags and moved back to the bright lights of London, although this time it was goodbye egg custard tarts. Hello, Percy Pig. I was placed in the tasty category of confectionery. This photo shows the office in the centre of London, across the canal from St Mary's Hospital where the royal babies were born. I was delighted to be back to the team and the business I knew very well. I was convinced there was M&S in my blood at this rate. When I returned, the work was similar to roles on placement but on a larger scale. I was given the responsibility to manage a product range or a group of suppliers. I was actually lucky enough to manage the Swiss chocolate supplier based in Switzerland. Dreamy. This role allows you to work hand in hand with the food buyer and the product developer. We would work closely on new product launches. So in January, we would be interested at finalising our Halloween range, and by Halloween, the Easter eggs would be finalised. This is what's called taking product from initial concept to launch. As you know, the retail environment is a constant battle of best quality, innovation, price, and so on. This can be challenging in a commercial timeframe. Consideration is to be made, including the sourcing of appropriate ingredients and conducting travel tests. A travel test consists of travel testing your Easter egg, for example, through the supply chain to ensure it will reach the shelf without breaking. This allows us to create the best and protective packaging to preserve the finished product quality. The role involved a lot of travelling. Luckily for me, I really enjoyed travelling and spent many days and nights across Europe visiting suppliers. One of many accomplishments in this role was the launch of the Big Selection chocolate tin, which was a project I managed with a team of suppliers across England and Germany, just in time for Christmas. And I must not forget to share the glamour of the food industry. On the right is a photograph of me standing in front of a retort, which is used in the sterilisation of ambient stable products, where I spent almost 1 month working in a factory in North England. The next part of my journey was literally goodbye London, hello Dungannon. As I have said, I moved back home last year and I am now working for Moy Park. For those who are not very familiar with the company Moy Park, here's a brief overview. It is one of the UK's top 15 food companies, Northern Ireland's largest private sector business and one of Europe's leading poultry producers. With almost 800 farmers, Moy Park supply 25% of Western Europe's chicken demand. This indicates it is a huge operation. There are 12 processing sites across Europe, 3 of which are here in Northern Ireland, Ballymena, Craigavon and Dungannon. It's definitely a big change from the bright lights of London City, however there really is no place like home. What I really enjoyed about working for such a large manufacturer is that I work closely with many different retailers, including Tesco, Waitrose, Aldi, McDonald's, Sainsbury's and so on, and not to mention all of the international and bulk customers. With the strong customer-facing interest of mine, this role allows me to work closely with many internal teams within Moy Park and manage relationships with many different customers. Again, it wouldn't be work for me if there was no product launches involved. I coordinate product launches and ensure the site is ready for launch. This involves making sure the correct ingredients and packaging are on site and that all relevant systems are updated with the new product specifications. Our customers like to come to site, so part of my role is supporting these visits, and even during COVID times, these visits continue, although remotely via video. And most importantly, as a quality manager, I have the responsibility to ensure product quality across the site is maintained and constantly improved upon. Moving on to some tips for getting your first role. Firstly, I advise that you start the search early. It is a long process and can become tedious when online tests are involved. Practice these tests before you take the real test if you can. It's okay if you're not sure what you would like to do. This is the beauty of having a placement year. It gives you exposure into the industry so you can learn about lots of different roles before deciding what you would like to do after graduation. Be prepared for rejection. I had several rejections before reaching success during the search for placement year, so please don't let a rejection put you off. Thirdly, have several people look over and critique your CV as early as possible before submission. And finally, be prepared for an interview. On more of a personal note, I think your heart has to be in it, and this will really help you shine during the interview. And during this COVID environment, interviews may move towards video meetings where possible, so make sure that you are fully equipped and prepared for this. Moving on to my last slide is my top 5 early career tips. Number 1 is to ask for feedback and have some self-awareness. For me, feedback is invaluable. Sometimes you may be given feedback which you don't necessarily agree with, but take it with a pinch of salt and see it as constructive criticism. I think it's useful to receive feedback from your mentors and managers in their early stages, as this allows you to mould into your professional self. Some companies have a great feedback culture and others maybe not so much, so take it upon yourself to ask for it. Feedback for me goes hand in hand for having self-awareness of yourself in the workplace and really just be mindful of your behaviours in the professional environment. Second is about communication. Communicate to others, sometimes in their preferred communication style rather than your preferred style, particularly when you're starting your career, whether that's face-to-face, telephone or email. Ask for this early and try to use it where possible. Communication also means clarity. Seek clarity when unsure of anything. Ask for clarity if you're uncertain at any point, and if you're anything like me, there's probably a high chance that things go in one ear and straight out the other. Therefore, I advise you to take notes, write everything down until you find your own rhythm and routine. Make sure you are fully aware of your roles and responsibilities and what is a priority within your list of tasks. Really take responsibility and don't be shy. Your manager will give you a task because they feel that you can deliver it. So be resilient and confident in your work, and if unsure or curious, ask questions, ask lots of them. Number 4 is to network and build relationships with different people and functions where possible. Work cross-category and find a mentor. This will help you make the most out of your job role. Lastly, but by no means least, be happy. If you're not happy with your role, change something. This does not necessarily mean change company, but rather change to a different project or a different team. And at the end of the day, we spend a lot of time in work, so make sure that you choose something that you enjoy.
So thanks everyone for listening to my short presentation. Please feel free to ask me any questions on the interview panel, which is coming up shortly.